Greetings and various assorted salutations. Today I'm kind of going over the lecture video rebuild design notes. What I'm trying to do here with this rebuild is, it's been a few years since my channel's founded. We've got new textbook, new educational standards. I've had some years of teaching experience, and I wanted to remake a lot of my older lecture videos and cover stuff from the different time periods that I might be expected to teach. A bit of background information on the project is I originally made a lot of my lecture videos during the pandemic. The slide shows were based heavily on materials provided by the textbook we had, plus needs that we had and things of that nature. I've had some time to learn some things, some new tools have become available, and I just want to kind of talk about some of the setup and operations of this thing. Now you may notice that this camera setup is a bit different from what I usually do. I'm trying something out. Right now my computer that I'd normally use for recording stuff is really busy thinking right now. I'm running a certain process, some procedures and programs on it, and I really don't want to interrupt that, and I don't want to run the risk of distracting its processing power. So as a result, we're using my jury-rigged tablet thingamabobber plus one of the blackboards I have laying around or hanging around for this project. So anyways, let's talk about it. So the new lecture series that I'm going to be working on is going to cover a few different classes. Ultimately, I'd like for it to cover U.S. History 1, U.S. 2, U.S. 3, and government. I wonder if those are readable. Oh, well, this is why it's a test video. U.S. History 1 is going to be kind of the American Revolution through something like the Civil War, 1860s, 1870s maybe. I'm using definitions that come from the school and area I teach at. So the definitions might change because, people like to change things. Gives them something to do. But the lecture videos, that'll be one set. The next set, U.S. History 2, is really the American Industrial Revolution, the second one. It goes over topics there. U.S. History 3 is modern America. It's looking at kind of the 20th century to, I think the cutoff date magically is 2008. There's no history beyond 2008. Nothing happens beyond 2008. There's probably no historical events left. We finish history in 2008 in U.S. History 3 according to our standards and how we do things, assuming we make it that far in the classroom. And then government will be the newest edition. I'll be teaching maybe some sections of government in the future, so I want to go and get started on the lecture videos for those. And I'm redoing the process because we've got new materials and I've got new experiences and things that hopefully will make these newer videos a bit better or more expanded, because I kind of, after the pandemic ended, I kind of quit making videos consistently. And that put a damper on the expanse and totality of this. But let's start with the purpose of these lecture videos. Purpose. This seems to work. The purpose is I want people to be able to remotely access some of the materials. I have students who are going to be gone. I'm going to have people who are not available, or they want to look at the slides or the materials that are presented in class in a slightly different perspective. And so as a result, I want remote access. I've determined that YouTube is the best way of granting that access. I could run things through Canvas. I could run things completely offline, but I found a lot of students, they can usually stumble their way onto a YouTube video, sometimes intentionally. And so that's kind of the idea, is remote access to materials presented in class. Also, it's an alternative presentation. It's an alternative presentation because I know that some students don't do as well listening in class, or maybe there's something going on in the class in that day, or they're gone, or they just want things presented another way. Because how a lot of people learn is through multiple forms of exposure. Maybe you read about it, maybe you encounter it through a video, maybe you encounter it through a book, but it's the same material and eventually something sticks. And so this is an alternative access method. And it's actually several access methods in one, because with each of these videos, there is going to be a few different pieces to it. So there's going to be a few different parts. First off, I'm going to have the lecture slides. These are going to be in a program called Microsoft Sway. I use Microsoft Sway because it's easy to share and put links out for it. It's the program that I used before. I like that it looks slightly different from PowerPoint or Google Slides, but really it's just a matter of, I can conveniently dump things in it. It does the job. It may not be the best tool, but it's the tool I'm used to working with, and that's good enough for me. Also, each of these will have a script. Now, this script is something that students, if they're paying attention, they'll notice that I don't stick to the script that I write and give access to. Part of the reason for this is when I am lecturing or teaching in class, students will ask questions, or students will be more interested in something, or I want to make connections to things that are happening in the class. And so as a result, the lecture script is just kind of an idealized, this is the stuff I'd like to cover, and this is a way that I could cover it. And so the script has that benefit of it's kind of outside of the context of the class, which some people benefit from. Now, what's new with this, what is new to this whole setup is I'm also adding in audio. There's going to be an audio reading and basically an audio script, an MP3 file of each of the lectures that is read aloud by an AI developed from a prompt using a program called ElevenLabs. The reason for this is, I get it. Some people don't like hearing the sound of my voice, or they want to just get the script of things. They just want the script, no distractions. The audio script is designed for that purpose. Some students do best hearing it from a different perspective. And if that's a soulless artificial intelligence reading it aloud to you, then so be it. I mean, given the fact that I use ElevenLabs for a few other projects, I understand that sometimes people are fed up with the human race and they want to have the AI or the computer read to them. And so the audio script's going to be another thing. Now, the part you're looking at, and probably where a lot of people encounter this, is in the YouTube playlist. And the video presentation works this way. I go through the lecture slides. I don't necessarily read the script. I might have the script up on a different screen, but I don't stick to it religiously. But I just go through the slide lectures and make a lecture video like you've probably seen my other work. If you have seen my other work, you should see my other work. That'd be nice. Anyways, but these are the 4 different ways that you can access it. Now, also, if you're in my classes, you'll get this stuff in class. So even if you never look at the script or the audio reading or the video, I cover the material in class. The lecture videos are more or less kind of just an alternative access point for those involved. Now, for part 2, what we're going to look at is how I build these and how I create them. So I'll clear the whiteboard off screen and then we'll dive into that. Okay. Alright, so I've cleared the board. Let's take a look here. Now, the design process for these videos is, first off, I start off with a kind of a general list of the lectures I want to give. The lectures that I want to give are based on topics I feel need to be covered directly in class, topics, things of that nature. I do use a bit of AI to help come up with some of these topics. But for the most part, it's based on my own experiences and the breakdown of the units and course and sections in the textbook, things of that nature. So where I get the topics comes largely from that. This is one of the things I'm using is I'm using artificial intelligence to create some stuff. And if anybody's kind of poo-poos that or says bad things about that, in defense of a lot of things, how a lot of textbooks have operated for many, many years is textbooks would give teachers a big box of lecture slides, or virtually per se, or in the old days, literally a box of material for presentations. And so newer textbooks, some of them are leaning away from doing that per se, or there's a big movement against lectures. In general. And so there's not necessarily newer materials being made by other people. And I ran into problems with that before because sometimes I need to go into detail differently to make the topic more accessible or present it from a different way than what is being normally looked at. Teaching is somewhat of an art sometimes. And, you can have a dozen landscape paintings, but people add more to it. Anyways, so that's kind of, I use AI to help build out the topics. Most of the lecture notes, if you read the scripts, I kind of ramble those out and type those out. And so there's a lot of typos and whatnot. And so I kind of just come up with those on my own. I may occasionally ask AI to help me explain something differently. But for the most part, like the script writing, the audio script itself is something I come up with. But the design process is kind of as follows. Once I have a topic, I take topic. And I have a program like ChatGPT design a slide outline. This outline, I almost never use it in its original format, or I'll make changes to it, or I'll rearrange it, but it gives me something to work with. Because if I want to create lecture videos for U.S. History 1, 2, 3, and government, and I want to create it over a whole variety of different topics, and I want to release these in a way that students can actually use them, well, I discovered I couldn't do that by myself. This YouTube video series is a side project of a side project. It's not required for my work. It's not even a major part. But I like doing it. And so using artificial intelligence to streamline the design process allows me to say, I wish I could do a lecture on this topic. I can come up with the materials for that topic, but I need something for the students to look at on the big screen. I will build this outline in Sway. I'll put it into Microsoft Sway. And then from there, it's kind of, the AI kind of gets shoved aside or starts working on doing stupid stuff like generating cookie recipes or something. But what happens after I have the outline built in is I start working on the script. Now, I use Google Docs for the script because I found that's the program I have easiest access to for sharing the audio script, for sharing the script in writing. And I basically kind of, I look at the script, I write a piece, I might change the outline, change the Sway slides, work on the script, go back and forth between those two things. During this time, I might add images I might add images, or I might expand on things, and I'll actually kind of refine the design of the slides. That's kind of the stuff I'm doing is on that next step. And then when I get to the end of the thing, I'll skim through it again and be like, maybe this works, maybe that works, make some changes there. And then the next step that I go to is audio. I audioize the script. By that I mean I take the script and I dump it into ElevenLabs Studio, and I have an AI voice that I designed through a prompt read the script aloud. That AI voice, in case you're wondering, is Faustina 289, and it's a character I pulled from some other project that I'm working on for purposes, and it's just kind of the school AI that I've developed, which has been around longer than ChatGPT has been publicly around. So it's kind of just there's some humor in there. It's a character, anyways. But then I audioize the script. I may make further modifications to the slides. I may make further modifications or edits to the script, but I'm skipping a lot of the editing process, and so the scripts will not look their best because at this time I'm not taking time to clean them up. This is because I might develop 20, 30, 40 lectures, and if I want to do it in a timely manner, it's going to be more ad hoc. I mean, the way I usually do lectures, especially when I don't do video, is I'll develop the slides, I'll develop the pictures, I'll figure out how to arrange that stuff, and then I just present it. And often I'll have to present it 3, 4, 5, 6 times in a day, the same lecture. And so there'll be variations between the two, and I won't do it perfectly. I won't do it consistently all the time. And that's okay, because the fundamental thing we've run into with learning is how we get the information into our brains. Some people benefit from some methods or others, and nothing's perfect. And if I want to continue doing what I'm doing, I need to focus on get the process good enough and get it out there. It's not like I'm a professional at the video stuff anyways. I don't have the time, I don't have the skill set, I don't have the interest. But no, so that's kind of my design process. The main AI I use is ChatGPT. That's what I have access to. I've also used Magic School for some stuff, but that's kind of the basics there. And then I usually have a couple of textbooks laying around where I can look stuff up for the different for different things, because a lot of the stuff I can kind of just rattle off once you get me going. It's hard to get me to shut up. But occasionally I have to look something up or make sure certain things are there. You'll notice that I avoid trying to do too many dates, or if I do say a date, it'll be very specific. And that's because we're more focused on, in where I'm at, where I'm teaching, do you understand how X connects to Y? Because you can look up when Y happened or X happened. And so it's more important to understand connections, build connections, and understand terms and key ideas, as opposed to dates and things like that. But this is just kind of a short little, maybe not short. This is kind of an introduction to kind of my design process for making lecture videos. Hopefully people find it interesting. If not, who cares? It's another video added to the video count of my lecture series and YouTube channel. So anyways, until later.